It is time for another episode of Flames Unfiltered. I am the host of the show, Burud, alongside Kyle Lewis, and it is time to talk regular season Flames hockey.
Yeah, out time. Actually, even the games that I don't really have an interest in, as far as opening night go, still excited to peruse them.
Yeah, I'm going to take it. We're recording this on Wednesday nights, or Tuesday nights. We usually do it on Wednesday nights. We're doing it on Tuesday because the Flames have a crazy Wednesday start.
Yeah, which is very rare for them.
It is rare. We only have, I think we talked about it like a week or two ago. There's like 3 Wednesday nights, 3 or 4.
It's not many, whatever it is. It's not many at all.
No. And we usually do this show on Wednesday nights and release it on Thursday mornings. And this week it's just a day early, so that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm just glad preseason's done. It was a flat end to preseason. Yeah,
after such a fun start, right? It was just
so positive and good.
Yeah, and then it, kind of petered off, and then we have the final decisions that have been made. Although I say final, they're really quite temporary as soon as somebody needs to be called up for whatever reason.
Well, let's hope it's not a key injury.
Well, we've already had one, because I think Pelche was going to have a great year, but
I was looking forward to seeing exactly what that would bring.
Yeah,
now we're talking 2-3 months on him, and then I saw Kevin Rooney did have surgery on his shoulder, and we're looking at 2-3 months with him.
I think Rooney was AHL bound anyway to be like a veteran down there.
I do think so, because I don't.
Well, I mean, he should be or be the extra, the 13th forward, but he almost by default, I felt, was kind of penciled in that fourth line position because there's a hole in that center spot, as we've talked about, right?
For sure. So,
yeah, we'll see how that plays out.
I saw another thing this week too. Let's talk jerseys for a second. I saw Blasty's coming back this year, so we had 3 jerseys at home. We're gonna have the regular red jersey, the Blasty, and the Heritage. We'll see. Are they using that Heritage for all Battle of Alberta games? I think that's what I saw.
I thought it was just the outdoor game and one other game. I thought.
Oh, is it? I hope
but
so.
I'd have to look at the breakdown. But I mean, it's a pretty, especially in an age where they're just marketing this shit out as many jerseys as they can, like per team for the marketing dollars. I like the idea. The Heritage thing is special to this season, obviously, but I like having your home, your away, and one specialty jersey. The reverse retro program is cool, but it's totally a cash grab, right?
It totally was. And most of them weren't very good.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No. Speaking of not very good, the end of the preseason, we drop a Wednesday night game to Edmonton 7-2, and then Friday night lose a game where we allow a first goal shot, which PTSD again. 3-1 loss to Vancouver. I don't know. How long was it going to be before I get over that?
Well, to touch on the first game you mentioned, I don't know. I don't really see the point of dressing an AHL caliber roster against the Edmonton All-Star starting lineup team. I don't get that.
I know they don't want to travel.
Yeah, you're not going to prove anything in a game like that. Unless there's a young player that, holds his own enough that he doesn't get absolutely shelled, which I guess is all you can hope for in a game like that. And as far as, the comment on the second game, the tweets about that were just wild, but deservedly so. That sunk this team as much as anything last year was those first shot goals. Even though it's a preseason game, it was a haunting reminder.
It's impossible to win consistent when you keep giving up first shots. And God,
it's so demoralizing,
if that is a thing this year, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah, same. But I like to think that with the new coaching staff, I mean, they would turn to Dan Vladar quicker, if that was to become a theme again. I felt like last year Sutter did not manage that well at all. And we talked about this at the time. He waited way too long to try and run with a different goaltender.
Yeah. And then it was a disaster what he did.
Well, and I think it's just kind of those, there's a time and a place. And if you miss that window of opportunity, say, okay, you're going to be our guy for the next week or so. Yeah. I think eventually they get frustrated from being cold on the bench. It's like, okay, well, I thought I was going to go in and now I am finally. It's, it's just, it doesn't.
Yeah, it just didn't flow right.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Dustin Wolf gets sent to AHL Calgary, and boy, Twitter exploded on that one again. And I get it, but I don't.
Yeah, he didn't have a great camp, and that's the part where I get it. The part that
Why
I
are
don't.
People having a hard time saying that. because he didn't. He did not.
I think it's because they wanted to be with the big club so badly, and I understand why. Because he literally, there's no player in the American League that has less to prove at that level than Dustin Wolf. He has done everything, so I understand why they want him. But in lieu of moving another goaltender, in this case Dan Vladar, he really had to have a standout camp to take that backup spot, and that was the only way it was going.
This fan base bitches and bitches about asset management so much,
And rightfully so.
And rightfully so, and I do too. So I'm not moving myself out of that, but I'm just saying, like, if we just give Vladar away just because we think Wolf's ready, that's poor asset management. And second of all, what happens if Wolf is not ready?
It's hard to believe he wouldn't be ready enough to play like so many games in the league at this point. Like, I can't imagine how that could be the case, but I mean, you've also got a guy who's played NHL games in Oscar Dansk, like, as a worst case scenario. Like, you can find a backup who can play a few games. I'm not going to say easily, but it's not impossible, right? If it didn't pan out. But I think based on the position the team's in right now, it makes sense to do what they've done. I think this is very temporary, by the way. I think within a few weeks, Wolf will be recalled for any number of reasons. And ideally he's going to go there with something to prove, right?
Believe me, I want Wolf to pan out more, as much as anybody else in this market and fan base does. I do. I just don't.
He didn't perform well enough to take the backup job. So what's the point of doing what they did a few years ago with, like we talked about, with Ramo and Hiller and Ortillo? Like, do I think he belongs in NHL? 100% I do. But based on the roster as it stands today, he didn't do enough to take a spot from anybody. So
he didn't. Yeah. Yeah. New arena finalized in Calgary, and that is some good news.
Yeah.
When it fell apart the first time, I think we were all crushed.
What about the second time or the third?
But when you look at
that, that was a bad one.
A whole lot better, though.
Oh, it is. I mean, there's still people complaining about it, but I mean, and I don't blame them. I mean, but people saying like, oh, like, Murray Edwards needs to sell the team and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, there's days I think that too, but it's like, guys, this, do you love your hockey team? Like, don't get so tied up in the politics of it. Like, is it ideal? No, but
name me a franchise though that has it just ideal. Like, it doesn't work that way.
This ownership?
Yes, this owner has
there's some that are a
deal. Yeah. But this ownership group has to negotiate a deal that's good for them and good for the city. And I think they did a good job, and I don't think they're screwing the city over.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, they, this, at the end of the day, it's a business, right? And Calgary Sports Entertainment did themselves, very well in these negotiations. But to talk about, how do they look compared to other owners? Like, I'd much rather Murray Edwards and Al Queenie in Vancouver. You never hear a word about Edwards, which there's that knock of being an absentee owner, which I get.
That's good.
But if he's pulling the strings, that can be a hell of a lot worse.
Look at the problems in Arizona. You want that?
Man, no.
There's a bunch of different ownership groups that I think we need to probably be happy that he allows hockey people to make hockey decisions.
Absolutely. 100%.
Roster moves. You want to talk about them right away?
Yeah, well, we had actually seen a tweet the other day about some suggestions for waiver pickups and that kind of stuff, and the one that we made was not the one I think anybody necessarily expected. Anderson Dolan was the name that I kept hearing as somebody the Flames should pick up, and I understand why.
Yep.
The one they did grab in AJ Greer is probably an almost offensively safe pickup. He's a decent skater. He's obviously got size. He fits in well on anybody's fourth line. And I think, there's that intangible of character everybody talks about. I think Darren Haynes had tweeted, he played on an absolutely stacked Bruins team that broke some league records. And there is something to be said for that. I think it's a safe pickup. But what were your thoughts on it?
I'm not going to lie, Kyle. And it reminds me of who was signed on free agency day, the day we lost Gaudreau.
Kevin Rooney, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And I remember seeing that, and I'm just like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Right? Well, when we signed AJ Greer, I'm like, I just saw Greer. I didn't see AJ. I'm like, Greer.
You're thinking of Mike Greer, different spelling, albeit.
I'm like, I don't even know a Greer in the league.
Yeah, I knew of him, and I had watched the Bruins games. My dad's a big Bruins fan, and the guy that I work with, Richard, is a diehard Bruins fan. So I texted him today, actually. Was it today or yesterday? Today. And just asked him, what's your take on AJ Greer? Actually, I'll read it for you because I think it's a pretty honest and fair assessment. Richard. Oh, yeah, of course. The iPhone sometimes does not like to do what you tell it to do.
No.
Recall conversation. It's like, you never had that conversation. I'm like, I literally just had that conversation. It's a sec here. I'll find it. But yeah, I knew I could count on him to give a very honest take on the pickup.
Sure.
He said, great fourth line guy, tough guy. The young guys took his job, but I really liked him. But that's kind of the nature of that position. That he's a very waivable guy because you probably have three others that can do essentially the same thing. But again, very safe as a pickup.
Well, I hockey DB'd him right away, and it comes up, and I'm like, okay, big guy is at 124, 25, so he's not super old. And I'm like, then I look at him like 61 games played for the Boston Bruins, who were the record-breaking team last year. Like, that's nothing to shake a stick at. That's a good sign.
Mm-hmm. Not an insignificant sample size on a team that was that good.
He's a physical player. He's going to be able to be the guy that we can have in the lineup when we have to take on the Goon Squad in Arizona with Gudis. And it's serious. Like, we do need that, though.
He's a functional. He's not like like this dying breed enforcer type. Like, he's a very functional player. Like you're saying, he can put him in and out of the lineup, right, with no concern. Well, we don't have a lot of guys like that, do we?
No, not anymore. We used to have a ton of them.
Yeah, too many, probably.
Yeah, I looked at this and I was like, okay, so basically what we've done is we've traded Lucic out for Greer as far as being that guy that can, I don't want to call him a tough guy anymore because I don't think that's really part of the league, but be that safety net. Is that a good?
Yeah, deterrent.
Deterrent. That's a good word.
Yeah, well, I have a degree in philosophy, right? I got to use it on the show sometimes.
That's right.
That's not that big of a word, but anyway, he's
going to be faster than Lucic. He's younger than Lucic. He had 12 points in 61 games. He was a +9. I like that.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, probably not the stupidest pickup we've had.
No, not at all. It's not. I mean, some people had tweeted like, "I'm not unhappy about it, but I don't get it." And I understand that argument too, but I think again it's just it's an extra body, and I think they kind of got spooked maybe by Pelche and Rooney both getting hurt like that, and they looked at their depth again. It's like, yeah, like we need somebody. So I think I'll use that as a segue to ask you a couple questions about other transactions. So we'll stick with the Flames for a moment, then we'll jump to the big ones in Winnipeg. But had you heard that Elliot Friedman had said in 32 Thoughts that the Flames were talking extension with Chris Tanev?
I did.
Now this is the thing about that is, a lot of people had an opinion because he's aging, he's been injured at times, whatever. What was your take when you first read that?
I love what Chris Tanev brings.
It sounds like you're talking about an ex-girlfriend. It was a great relationship, but
thank God my ex-girlfriends don't look like Chris Tanev.
You might have better hair than they did, though.
Oh, I worry about, and I didn't initially, because I have a buddy that's a Canucks fan, and as soon as we signed him, and they were butthurt because we signed, they really wanted him, but all of a sudden when he signs with us, then they don't want him. They're like, oh no, he's injury prone. You watch, he's injury prone. And then we had such good success with him and didn't have the injuries.
I was blown away by that, and I said that before on this show. Like, I couldn't believe that Tanev has performed as well as a Flame as he has. I was dead wrong about it. I hated it at the time, and he proved me completely wrong. Not that he gives a shit what I think, but
I liked it. I thought it was great, but I always had that lingering in the back of my head that Canucks talk. Oh, you wait, and then we kind of did get bit with it the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So going into this and signing an extension to him, I'm not against it. It would just have to be at a hell of a good hometown discount.
It would have to be an even sweeter deal than the Backlund deal. We're talking a couple of years, a couple million per, I think is as much as I do on him. I just don't.
I would do more.
More term or dollars or both?
More dollars, less term. Or not less term. That term. I'd do 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'd be in that 3.8 range for sure.
3.8?
Yeah.
Wow. How old is he now?
Let me pull it up.
He's looked older than he is his entire freaking life.
He is not. See, I think he is right there, 33. So I'd do 2 years. He's getting 4.5 right now. I would do 3.8. I would not hesitate at all on that. And he could his agent could probably twist my arm to 4.
Oh man, yeah, that's way too much to me because I think his play, based on how he plays, is going to fall off a cliff. And maybe not this year or next, but when it happens, it's going to happen. But regardless, he's
such a safety net, though. He's
right now, yeah. But we'll see how he does this season. But it's just interesting to me that immediately people are like, no. Well, guys at that age in their career who likely have young children have been here for a few seasons now. They are motivated to stay. There's reasons to believe you can cut a deal that makes sense. And even when you go back on other, signings, like when the team was rebuilding, like Derek Engelland, it's like, what are they doing? Derek Engelland was one of the funnest Flames we had in the last 10 years. I don't think it wasn't a great contract by any stretch. But it was fun and it filled a need. And, Tanev could be that guy that teaches the younger guys like, Morata here in Moncton or Jeremy Poirier how to be better defensemen. Never mind the offensive guy. They know so much.
So we watched a guy in preseason in Sloviov. Did I say that right this time?
So Solovyov, yeah. I love that name now that I can say it.
Okay. I watched him and I'm like, hey, that's the next Chris Tanev.
Yep.
And if I have Chris Tanev teaching him,
around good hands. Yeah, 100%. And that's why I think he's worth keeping around.
I still don't believe that Noah Hannafin will be on this roster next year. I do believe Zadorov will, and I do believe that Tanev will also.
Yeah.
Lindholm,
that's the segue into what I want to ask you. What are your feelings, thoughts, impressions, reaction to the deals in Winnipeg for Scheifele and Hellebuck?
Well, it's the first thing I thought is I kind of chuckled. Number one, I was happy for Winnipeg, and I know that sounds awful coming from a Flames fan, but
no, but I mean, it's a small market. It's
I have a soft spot for that market because it is similar to
Winnipeg gets shit on way too much. I really like Winnipeg, and if I was rooting for them in the playoffs last year, right? I love Adam Lowry. We talked about him, yeah.
So when I heard it, I thought good for them, but then my second thought was, I love how this media, and it's not just the media, it's all of us. We're all guilty, right? The end of the year last year, we interview Backlund and we interview Lindholm and we interview Scheifele and Hellebuck and all these guys right after they lose, right? And they're pissed off because they just lost.
Yeah,
they're not going to be like, I just can't wait to come back here and do this for 6 more years.
Yeah.
What do we expect them to say?
Yeah.
Well, that being said, when Backlund signs after saying he was questioning what he was going to do, and then Hellebuck and Scheifele signed questioning what they were going to do, I was happy. Now the price tag for Scheifele, I'm not sure. I've wavered back and forth, and I don't think it's that bad. The term's crazy, but you have to do that, right?
Well, that's the thing. That's what people often don't think of. It's like, oh, that's too much money, too much term. It's like that is market value. And I said this to you before when we were selling, sheets of Aspenite OSB for building a house at $65 a sheet. It's not worth that. It never will be. It's chipboard. It gets rained on. It swells.
Yeah.
But that was the market, and the market was that because that's what people were paying for it. It's the same way in hockey. And that's the thing about the Scheifele deal is that I do think it sets something of a precedent for a potential Lindholm deal.
So if Lindholm signs for more than Scheifele, because I kind of compared them a couple times this year. I actually said to one of my friends, you might have even joked with you and said, let's just trade Scheifele for Lindholm. If Lindholm doesn't want to be here, maybe Scheifele would.
Yeah.
But I sit and I look at that and I'm like, okay, 8.5 for 8. To me, that seems high.
Yep.
But it is the value.
Yep.
The 8 years, I wouldn't like that, but I don't think you have a choice. If you're in Winnipeg, you just got to take what you can get.
Yeah, for sure. This isn't Florida. There's no state tax. The weather's beautiful. You have to know, and we're not shitting on Calgary or Winnipeg or anywhere, but I mean, players expect those types of commitments to commit to those places, right?
So if I told you that we signed Lindholm tomorrow at 8.5 for 8 years, just same as Scheifele, what would you say?
Shit, that's a little too much term. The money, although I think it's a lot, is not far off market value.
I will bet you anything that we're not getting Lindholm unless we sign him for 8.
Yeah, I'd love to see it at 7. I really would, but I think you're right.
Now
that's the other interesting thing. So had you heard Craig Conroy mention that Dave Nonis is the one handling the Lindholm negotiation?
I did not hear that.
Yeah, so I don't recall a case where a GM was so open about, oh yeah, my assistant is handling that. Like I've said that in my job, like, he's looking after it and I'm overseeing it kind of thing. But I don't sign people to $1 million contracts. I sell millions of dollars of material a year, but I do that with a shit ton of help. So it just, I found it really odd that he admitted that. I mean, I don't have an issue with it, but it's just, you couple that with, was it Saravelli who said that, the new authority on the Flames that said he expected the Lindholm deal to be announced before the season started? Well, it's going to have to be announced tonight or tomorrow morning if that's the case.
Oh,
where you at, Frank?
I don't know. I think 8. If we got him at 8.85, I probably would be okay with it.
Yeah,
I don't think we're going to be able to sign him for anything less. I guess that's.
And no, at this point, I don't really see that you could. But it's interesting. It's really, really interesting to see how it plays out. But it's always fascinating to me. Like Calgary was like the micro examples of, he doesn't want to be here anymore. Oh shit, he's staying. And then you have like, it was well known and more clearly stated, I believe, that Scheifele and Hellebuck were wanted out or were going to be gone. And then that's no matter the deals, that's a huge win for the Jets to get those two guys. Sure. It says a lot about that market in the face of a lot of negativity around people wanting to play there.
What does that do to the locker room heading into the new season?
Oh, it's huge. We can sit here and debate it. Hellebuck's one of the best goaltenders in the league. Scheifele is probably, I'd say, he's a top 15 center in the league.
Maybe put him ahead of Lindholm? Would you put him ahead of Lindholm?
As a scorer, 100%. Not even close, really. Like he is, in terms of offensive ability, a number 1 center. Lindholm, to me, is not. He's the best number 2 you'll ever find, but he's a bit miscast as number 1. And we've talked about that, right? But yeah, I mean, as far as Scheifele goes, like, he's up there in terms of offensive centerman for sure.
I think you answered the question is, you'd have him higher than Lindholm.
If I had to pick today which one I'd rather have, I mean, I'd be sacrificing a bit of defensive acumen to have Scheifele, but
I've never thought of him as a liability defensively, though, have you?
No, I haven't, to be fair. But it's interesting, too, I mean, because it's that constant debate, like, is Lindholm, was he inflated so much by the value and production of Tkachuk and Gaudreau, which offensively he was, but to what extent? And it's hard to judge last season. What's that?
We're going to find out quickly.
Well, and that's the thing. And last year is hard to judge because the locker room was such a disaster, right? So, anyway.
What happens, Kyle? What happens if the locker room's a disaster this year?
Really, Brad?
Oh, let's drag this week down more.
Yeah. We should clarify that. Brad and I are both dealing with some difficulties in our personal lives. We're talking about before I went on the air, and it's hockey is the most exciting thing for either of us right now. Distraction, right?
Oh, that's right. Do we want good news? Let's talk good news here. The leadership group was announced. Of course, we know Backlund, the team captain. Tanev gets an A, Anderson gets an A, Lindholm gets an A, and Huberdeau gets an A.
Yeah, that's exactly who I would pick across the board. You?
Me too. Exactly. Wouldn't change a thing.
I could have swapped virtually any of those for Weegar. I love Mackenzie Weegar. But I'm not displeased at all. Now, conversely, did you see the Rangers leadership group?
No.
It's half the fucking team. I can't even tell you who they all are because there's too many to remember. There's like 6 fucking guys. Like, it's crazy.
You know what I hate more than anything? I hate it when organizations say, all right, these 3 guys are going to wear the A's at home, and these 3 guys. To me, that is like the biggest coaching cop-out in the history.
Well, it is, and Calgary did it years ago, like with the co-captains thing too, with Conroy and Bugner. Like, I don't like that Just because you know somebody captain doesn't mean that they're your only leader. Just like this is the guy that talks to the ref, that talks to the guys in the room, that talks to the coaching staff. Like a captain is really important. But when you have, and so are the assistant captains, but when you have, your captain and like 7 alternates, it's like you're just watering down what it means to be a leader.
Sounds like a bank. I always laugh at banks. In the U.S. banks, everybody's a vice president.
Oh, that's insane. Like
13 vice presidents. It's like,
yeah.
I don't get
it. It really just, I don't like it at all. Like I said, just waters people down. And
one final comment on that. I hope he has a really good year this year, but I'm glad Kadri wasn't on that list. Is that terrible to say?
No, because I don't think he earned it. Now, everybody was frustrated last year, clearly, but
we're saying last year when we signed him, he's captain material.
The way he plays when he wants to play, he would be. But
yes, he only wants to.
I go back to when he was with the Leafs and Giordano flattened him and he did the whole throat cutting thing. Like, that's an extreme example. I'll say that, but he's always had that air of immaturity that you don't see it every game. In some games he's dominant, he looks fantastic. Then he has games like where he leaves that puck behind his net last year and we get
how about the Chicago game? Worst game he'll have, hopefully his worst game he ever plays in his
career. And then after the game we all have terrible games, terrible shifts at work, or made bad decisions. Yeah, he didn't take any responsibility. It actually reminded me of Ross Atkins of the Blue Jays. The other day talked about what happened with, Toronto losing. And he's like, oh, that's John Schneider's decision. That has nothing to do with me. It's like, no, it has everything to do with you. Like, I can't stand that lack of accountability. Like it just reeks. And I think that's, Kadri could certainly be more of a leader this year. And I expect that he will be.
I hope he is. I really hope he is. I hope he has a bounce.
Who is he going to bump for an A, right? Who is he going to bump? You can't argue with Lindholm, Huberdeau. No, you can't. So
no.
Anyway. Speaking of jerseys, though, what are your thoughts on the jersey number change of one Matt Coronado?
I don't know. Stupid kind of in a way. He wore 19 in Harvard. Like, throw 19 on, man. I don't care about Matthew Tkachuk anymore. He picked to leave. Like, I don't care about him anymore. He left. He's freaking.
Well, I like that. I like that attitude because it's true. You got to move on, right?
It's not like he left on good terms. He didn't. He might, we all like schmoozed that over because we liked what he brought to us while we had.
Well, because we like the sign and trade. We like the fact he worked with the Flames to make a deal happen. I do appreciate that.
I do too, but he still said he doesn't want to play here.
Yeah, he's still gone. And then he went on. He had a fantastic season last year or whatever. Like, you got to move on eventually. And I think it's just a number. There's no comparisons to Matthew Tkachuk. They're nowhere near the same player.
No. And I don't even know if Matthew Coronado wanted that.
I don't know, but 27's kind of fun.
Do we know if he wants to be called Matt or Matthew? Do we know that yet?
No, I don't think anybody's asked him. Although they asked him today about a goal song, and he kind of threw it out to the crowd to say, like, what do you guys think? So the Flames are actually taking goal suggestions for Coronado. And I think they're going to need a goal song because, I got him pegged to probably score 20 goals this year.
27. He was a 27. Who do you think of when you see 27 on the Flames?
Mark Savard, first and foremost. So Mark Savard, Josh Levo, Mark Savard, Todd Simpson. Hang on, this is really fun for me. I just had another one. Who the hell was it? Oh, obviously Dougie Hamilton.
Oh, jeez.
There's been so many. Like, there's another one that just went right out of my brain. Who the hell was it? Steve Reinprecht. That's a fun one.
Oh, yeah.
He was hurt a lot, but he was good when he played. 27. There was one more recently that hit me too, but I can't think of it. It was whoever was before Hamilton that wore 27. It's a 39. I didn't mind. It was kind of
I didn't mind that. It's a goalie number in my mind, but don't mind.
Well, it's also a number that, like, if somebody already has 19, you might take like a 39 or whatever. Like,
who the hell? I mean, you'll get remembered at 39. I can't think of another number 39. I don't.
Cam Talbot somewhere, I think, wore, didn't he?
Well, yeah, but I can't think of a skater. A skater that wore 39. I can't think of it.
I'm thinking of a lot of 38s. Jeff Friesen, Jeff Cowan. I can't. Even outside of the Flames, I can't. So anyway, it's fine. It's fine. But it's cool. Yeah.
LTIR. Who goes on it? Because somebody's going to have to go on LTIR.
Pelche, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah.
Shillington? We don't know what's going on there.
I don't know how. Well, Rooney, I would say Rooney and Pelche will go on IR.
But neither one gives you. Well, Rooney gives you some cap relief, actually.
A little bit.
Because that contract makes no sense.
Shillington's got. I mean, what do you do? We got to do something here. See what happens there. But I got a feeling he's going to go on LTIR too.
Yeah.
Just to free up some space.
Yeah.
So what do we do with these lines? We start tomorrow night, Wednesday night. What are we doing with these lines?
I don't know because, as I mentioned to you before we went on, having Dubé on the top line, I mean, when you have options like Sharon Govich or Coronado, I don't get that.
Right now on Tuesday's practice, they had Lindholm centering Dubé and Huberdeau, Kadri with Coronado and Sharon Govich, Backlund with Coleman and Majapani, Rosiska centering Dewar and Greer.
I like the rest of those lines actually quite a bit. The Backlund line sounds really fun. Really fun. And so actually, so does the Kadri line.
Can I throw something at you? And
please do. That's why I'm here.
Think I'm crazy, but I don't think I'm crazy.
I already do, so no worries.
Okay. We tried the Huberdeau Lindholm thing last year.
Yeah.
To no success.
Well, Huberdeau was on his off wing far too often. That was part of the problem. Well,
agreed.
I'll throw that in there. Anyway, continue.
Have they dazzled you this preseason?
Huberdeau did in that one game.
One game against Vancouver's C squad.
Yeah, that was very polite of you. Such an evil laugh.
Yeah. Let me throw out some line combos for you and just see what you think of this. I would have Backlund centering Coronado and Huberdeau.
That'd be kind of fun.
Because Backlund gets the best out of everybody.
Yep.
And what two players do we need to have great years this year more than Coronado and Huberdeau?
Yep. I like the logic of it.
Lindholm centering Majapani and Sharon Govich.
That is really interesting because that is one line combination I had not previously thought of.
Because Sharon Govich is a shooter.
Yep.
Lindholm is a disher. And Majapani can get the shit done in the corner.
Yeah, and in front of the net. He'll clean up a lot of those Sharon Govich shots for sure.
And then I'd put Kadri with Rosiska and Coleman.
Coleman's speed would be a lot of fun there too. I like these so far. Rosiska, he would benefit a lot from playing with a guy like Kadri that can make some space for him.
Yep. And then I would have Dubé.
A lot of thought.
I would have Dubé centering Dewar and Greer.
Yeah. I like it. I like it a lot.
I don't think we'll see it, but I like it.
No, but a lot. They're going to, obviously, with it being a new season, they're going to run with these lines for a few games and see how it goes. But I don't know.
Does Rosiska centering that fourth line scare the hell out of you like it does me?
It depends on how it's used. If the fourth line is deployed as terribly as our fourth line was when Daryl Sutter ran the bench, I'm absolutely terrified. But if you line them up against the right quality of competition and allow him to grow into that position, he could do well. Could.
I hate to bash lines before we even see him, but I don't think Dubé is a top line. I don't even think he's a top 6 player.
He's not at all. He's an ideal third liner in the league. I don't now. I mean, he's in obviously great shape, the best of anybody in camp. But he just doesn't have that finish. Oh. And you see flashes of it every now and again, but for him to if he's on the top line, let's say all season, and I can't see it, let's say that he is, he's got to put up 60 plus points at least. And I don't see it happening.
What does he bring offensively to get the puck to Lindholm and Huberdeau? How many battles does Dubé win on the boards?
Our connection didn't freeze. I just don't have an answer for you.
How many times last year were you like, dude, you got to win a battle on the boards?
Can we just also point out my tea mug has Moose Facts on it? Just for those watching on YouTube. So it's actually a mug from Calgary, but it has Moose Facts. So
we might, hopefully, if we lose a lot of games this year, we may bring the mug back and give you a Moose Fact every week.
I'm willing to do that. I will research the hell out of. I was going to say mooses. What is it? I remember talking to some guys at work, and they're all French, right? And trying to explain to them how there's no such thing as mouses; it's mice, and it just blew their minds. They couldn't understand the polarization being the same word. or being a different word without an S on the end, I should say. It was just like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, well,
lots of stuff doesn't make any sense.
yeah. Like Dubé being on the top line. Way to bring that back. I'm proud of that.
Oh, geez. Defensively, I think
there's no Booz in this tee. I swear to God.
No, we should. We might be putting Booz in it here. Let's see how this week goes.
Yeah.
Hannafin, Anderson, Zadorov, Uyghur, Osterley, Tanev. I think we can all get on board with that, right?
Absolutely. And Osterley had a Osterley. I hear it pronounced differently all the time. We had a great camp. Great camp. Big fan of him if he can carry that into the regular season, for sure.
As long as his decision making holds out, we're golden.
Yep. But he came to camp with something to prove. I mean, he's been kind of a journeyman to this point in his career, and he's really shown well. Very impressive. And a under the radar signing, as it were.
For sure. Definitely for sure.
What else do we have? There's something I'm forgetting.
Well, let's do the X Factor because
yes,
it's interesting this week. And
it's interesting every week.
It is. And this one is from Stinky Poke. I don't know what the hell that means, but I don't know.
I saw this earlier, actually.
So he posed some questions for the Flames over-unders. And I read it and I thought, it actually got me thinking. And I'm like, I don't know. So Huberdeau, 85 points over or under.
I think that's bang on. I think he
goes over or under.
That's so close to what I had in pencil in it. I'm gonna go under, but I'm talking like 82. What do you
That's
think?
Exactly what I was gonna say. Exactly.
Come on. We can't agree on everything.
We're gonna argue here in a second. Yeah. Lindholm, 30 goals.
Over 32. I
can't remember what I hit him last week. I had him projected over that, I think.
I could be going against what I said. I've been known to do that at times. So
just daily for us. Dubé, 18 goals.
That seems high. Under 15.
I hope it's over.
Banish. Well, me too, but banish from the top line by week 3.
Kadri, by more than third game, he's not there. Kadri, 10 power play goals.
Over 12.
I hope so. I really, really want him to have a good year.
Yeah, me too.
I probably want him to have as good, with the exception of Huberdeau and Markstrom, he's my third guy I think we really need to have a good year with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Majapani, 25 goals.
Ooh, that would be lovely, but we'll go under at 21.
Yeah. Anderson, 50 points. I know you're going over here.
Yeah, over for sure. I can't remember what I said. It was closer to 60, like 56 or so.
Yep. I'm going under there. Zadorov, 10 goals.
Under 8.
Tanev, 1 tooth lost. Does he have any left?
Can I just answer that guaranteed?
Yeah. He's
also Zadorov. Where are you at on that one?
For teeth lost?
No, Zadorov for 10 goals. What's your answer? Brad, we care what you think too. You know.
I know. I'm gonna go under, but God, I hope it's over.
So what's your under number?
8.
We agreed again. Damn it. All right. Now this last one. I'm getting sweaty just reading it again.
This made me decide on this for the X Factor. This one line. Markstrom, 5 first shots of the game he lets in. And when I read that, I'm like, oh, this is the X Factor because if it's over 5, if it's over 3, I am losing my mind.
I went under at 3. Yep. What do you got?
It better not be more than 3.
All right. We know what it better not be because you're going to lose your goddamn mind. What's your answer?
You know, it's going to be under.
Which is what
I'm going to do a little. It better. I'm going to say 2.
Man, you were so emotionally invested in this answer. I love it. I had to pull that one out of you.
I'm dead serious. I'm going to actually do some research. I don't even know how I'm going to figure this out, but I want to know first shot goals. What's the league average per team? I want to know that. Someone's got to know that.
Yeah, that would be tough. I guarantee it's nowhere near as high as Calgary's was.
No, not even close.
No, that was not fun at all.
Good X Factors from
thanks, Sticky Poke. I feel so dirty saying that name.
I don't even know. Yeah, well, I guess we move on, right?
How do you move on from that? How do you move on from the Stinky Poke?
Follow Stinky Poke because he's got some good tweets out there. I don't know what else he's got good, but his tweets are
hard to top that one.
It starts Wednesday night. Winnipeg comes to town. How do you feel?
Hesitant. Cautiously optimistic.
How would we not? You better be cautious. You hit a Flames tab for first in the Pacific.
Yeah, but they're such notorious. I mean, I don't put too much stock in season over season, but they're traditionally, apart from last year, actually such a slow starting team to start the season.
Calgary was off the charts last year to start the year, weren't they?
5-1-1, I think.
Yeah, we were freaking getting the parade plan, weren't we?
Well, yeah, that didn't quite pan out. So, how do you feel about it? What's your gut telling you?
Honestly, this game could go either way. It'll
be a tight one, I think.
I'm interested to see with the signings in Winnipeg. I know that's only just a small tidbit of this, but they've got to be feeling good in Winnipeg as a whole organization.
That team was essentially expected to be gutted, and I like the additions they made. I thought they did fairly well in the Dubois trade because Dubois is not, in my mind, a winner or somebody with an attitude you want in your locker room. So good luck to the Kings with that.
I look at this game, and I honestly, I think it could go either way. I see the Flames are favorites in this. I don't know what the exact current line is, but I can look while we talk here. But they're negative 130. So we'll see what happens there. What I am a little bit apprehensive about, and you can flip this to a positive or you can flip it to a negative. This team heads out on a 5-game Eastern road swing starting Saturday night.
Right.
With stops in Pittsburgh, Washington, Buffalo, Columbus, and Detroit. I look at this road trip and it can tell so much for what this season is going to bring us. And that scares me.
Yep. I'm scared about playing Matthew Phillips in the Capitals in a little over a week. I am. He's the hometown kid. He's going to prove this team wrong. I hope he's a -4. I wish him well, but I
do too. I do too. Look, I mean, we have to get off to a decent start. I think so much of this season.
Well, the Pacific's going to tighten up all year long. I think.
I still believe 3rd through 6th in the Pacific is going to be within 3 points.
Yep.
It's that tight.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I really think Seattle's going to take a serious step back. I really do.
I do too.
It's going to be fascinating.
I think Vegas is going to take a step back. I know. We get to watch stuff.
Vegas too, yeah. I agree.
I think Vegas takes a step back just because of goaltending, but it all gets going tonight. As soon as we
is there a more uncertain goaltending tandem in the league than Copley Talbot with a side dish of Rittich? Like the way I said that?
Yeah. Have you watched on NHL Network? They have that behind the glass,
Yeah.
And I was watching part of it last night, and they were talking about that. They were talking about Talbot and Phoenix Copley and Rittich, and I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm just like, oh. And they were talking about how good Rittich has been in the preseason.
Yeah.
Man, I love that guy. Like, I wish him the best. Like,
did he make the opening night roster? Did he? I never looked.
You know what? I didn't see. We should probably figure that out as we're talking here, because that battle was, a couple weeks ago on the TV show. And I look at Cam Talbot, and I've been as bold as to say that he's going to be the savior in LA this year.
Wow. Yeah, he did make the team, by the way, Rittich.
He did. Who did Phoenix go down?
Nope. Copley made it. It's out there carrying 3 goaltenders.
Oh boy, that's a freaking mess then.
I'd have to look more in depth, but I suspect they're one of, if not the only team to do that.
Well, I'm sure they would have to clear waivers, and right now, would either any of those guys? Rittich would clear waivers. Interesting
tandems. I'm just looking at this list, but yeah, interesting tandems. So the Senators with Anton Forsberg and Jonas Korpisalo. That's interesting.
I think it's good.
I do.
What do you think of Toronto's? What do you think of Toronto's? Because I look at that one and I'm like, ooh.
Oh, I don't have much faith in that.
They put Martin Jones on waivers.
Yeah. I don't think he'll be claimed, though.
He didn't. He cleared.
Yeah,
but I'm sitting there looking. He won over 30 games for Seattle last year,
which is insane. He had, in fantastic stats.
But why does Toronto always got to like pray that the rookie's great? Like, what would Toronto do with Dustin Wolf? They would freaking wreck him so fast.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird. It's kind of like Philly that way. Like, it's funny to think back now, but like when they had Curtis Joseph, he was fantastic. Ed Belfour, who succeeded Joseph, was fantastic. And then they went through this, Raycroft and Toskala and Jaguar and Martin Gerber was there for a bit. Man, this is weird. Listing all these goaltenders that I completely forgot about.
They treat them like shit.
Yeah. It's a tough place to play.
I was in Toronto and I was sitting next to a season ticket holder and we were just talking. And he was bitching about the goalie that night. And I can't even remember who it was. I don't even remember. They've gone through so many. And we were talking about Toronto and the market and goaltenders. And I looked at him and I said, you haven't named a goalie that you've liked. I said, can you think of the last goalie you really liked in Toronto? And he looks at me dead in the eye and he's like, Felix Potvin.
Really? Curtis Joseph is one of my favorite goaltenders ever. I'm amazed he didn't say that.
I said, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Belfour was after him, and Belfour was good for you. Like,
yeah, Belfour was great.
I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get a lot of markets, so but I don't know.
Interesting.
Did we vent all our Calgary stuff, or do you got anything else?
It's hard to say much else until we actually see them play. I'm sure I'll have some gripes on Thursday, whether they win or lose, but I mean, I don't think it's just up to the team to perform. We know what we have. We have essentially the roster we expected, with obviously missing Pelche and at one point thinking we'd have Shillington. That's kind of a blow, but this new coaching staff or, new head coach and with Mark Savard on board now and Dan Lambert, I don't really know what to expect. It's going to be different to watch them. And the other thing too, is it could take some time for the system to really sink in, right? Yeah. Deprogramming a locker room is not something that gets done overnight. So I think we have to be a little bit patient too. Try to be.
I think we need to try to. I know the nightmares from last year are in all of our heads.
Yeah.
And I do. I think we need to be as calm as we can.
Yeah.
Based on what we dealt with last year. But we got to keep in mind that last year we were you get a couple 1-goal games to go your way. You get a couple more saves. I cannot believe our goaltending can be as bad as it was last year.
I don't think it actually can. I don't think it's actually possible.
So we got a lot to look forward to then, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a better. Yeah, I think this is a better team than the one we iced last year. So, and the guys are getting opportunity. They need to get opportunity. Walker Dewar is excellent. Matthew Coronado had a really good camp, and I have high expectations for him. So that right side, conceivably, is nowhere near as thin as it looked in years past. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's funny how quickly things change. So it'd be fun to watch them.
It's fun.
I can't remember was Tkachuk the last rookie that we had that we were excited about.
That's a tough one, actually. Probably, but I mean, I try to think of
Dubé, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, there was some excitement around Dubé. I'm thinking back to Sam Bennett. That's obviously before Tkachuk, but yeah, there's been some. Calgary typically does not develop players very well, and I think this shot for Coronado was actually a really good indication that they're starting to pay attention to the need for younger players, the need for opportunity for younger players.
It'll definitely be interesting to see. Thursday night gets going. Winnipeg comes to town, and then we head off on a 5-game roadie. Wednesday, yeah. See, I'm out of whack.
Well, we both are. We're both there. This is Flames Unfiltered, and it's also Brad and Kyle's decompression. A little support.
You know what? I do know this. Next week our episode does drop on Thursday. So that being said, I hope that all of you enjoy the start of regular season hockey tonight, and then the start of Calgary Flames regular season hockey tomorrow night. Reach out to us on X/Twitter.
Socials.
Yeah, there you go. We just say that. We're going to say that from now on. The socials. Check us out on socials. All right, Kyle.
Peace out. Keep it real. And I look forward to angrily texting you.
Me too. I also look forward to talking regular season hockey next week. We'll do that. Have a good week, Flames fans. Check back next week for another episode of Flames Unfiltered.
Thanks for listening to Flames Unfiltered with Brad Burud and Kyle Lewis, your source for unfiltered Calgary Flames hockey talk. Keep it locked on flamesunfiltered.ca. Subscribe where you get all your podcasts to never miss an episode. Flames hockey talk every week, presented by Inside Edge Hockey Media Group.